that you need. Before we get started, let me introduce myself. I am Joyce Patterson. I am the team leader for the 21st Century Grant, and my team and I will provide you the overview of what you will need to just determine, if you qualify and all that detailed information. And then our grants team will come on board and walk you through the actual application process. So before we get started, let me introduce my team. We have Amy Bosch, Cardacia Green, Emily Langston, Jamal Perry, Tiffany Robinson, Michael Muller, and our director, Tanya Mallet Smith. So today we will provide you an overview of the grant, the actual application, and again, the grants office will walk you through the actual application process. We ask that you keep your lines muted and your cameras off just to take away any distraction. And if you have any questions, we just ask that you put your questions in the chat box. With that, let's go ahead and get started. All right, the overview of the 21st Century Grant. Just information that you can read is basically it's funded by the U.S. Department of Education. And with that, let's move on. The purpose, though, of the grant is to provide opportunities for communities to establish or expand activities in community learning centers, one that provide opportunities for academic enrichment, that offers students a broad array of additional services, programs, activities that's designed to really reinforce and complement the regular school day and the academic program, and then offer families of students that are served for literacy and related educational development. The funding, we anticipate being able to fund about $2 million worth of grants, which estimates to be about 27 subawards. The project period for the summer is June 1st through July 31st. The maximum funding amount is $75,000, which turns out to be $188 per week per student. Who's eligible? Indian tribe or tribal organizations, for-profit organizations, other public and private entities, public school districts and schools, private schools and charter schools, community-based organizations, as well as faith-based organizations. Who's not eligible to apply for the summer grants? So those organizations that are proposing to start programs at schools or sites who are currently receiving 21st century funds, not eligible to apply, and organizations that are proposing to serve students who attend schools who currently receive 21st century funds. So although they might not be enrolled in your 21st century program, but their school is receiving 21st century funds, so therefore not eligible to apply. The timeline of the granting process, today is the technical assistance webinar. May 16th before 4:30 is the deadline to have all of your applications in. We're going to say this throughout the entire webinar today. Please don't wait until the last minute because things can happen. So even if you're in the middle of putting your application online and you're trying to get it submitted, if 4:30 comes and you have not already hit that submit button, it will not go through and it will not count. We anticipate getting the notifications of those who will be funded, getting those out this month. So hopefully in the next few weeks. The funding period again starts June 1st. And the deadline for the programs to begin their summer programming is June 2nd. The deadline to have all of your 21st century students coded in PowerSchool is June 5th. The funding period ends July 31st. And then the annual programmatic performance or continuation reports are due October 30th. The target population, again, those applicants must propose to serve students who primarily attend schools that are implementing comprehensive support and improvement activities or targeted support. Other schools determined by the LEA to be in need of intervention and support to improve the student academic achievement and the outcomes. Applicants may propose to serve students who attend one or more of the schools identified as the 21st century Title I schools served. Accessibility. Programs that will be operating in a facility other than a school must utilize facilities that are available, safe, conducive to learning, and accessible as a public school. And then applicants must ensure that programs are accessible to individuals with disabilities and are non-discriminatory, include a General Education Provisions Act statement, that's GEPA. And with that, I am going to ask Jamal to take over with the next group.
Thank you, Joyce. Good morning again, everyone. Okay, this slide talks about private school consultation. Any private schools located within your service area must be included in the planning and development of the application. So you have to have the form filled out that state that they will not participate or they are willing to participate, and the appropriate signatures need to be on the document as well. Okay, statutory and other requirements. Um, as if you are awarded the grant and you sign all the documentation, you have to adhere to any statutory, federal, and state program requirements, and you also must adhere to the 2 CFR Part 200, the Uniform Administrative Requirements, cost principles, and any audit requirements for federal awards. You also have to adhere to any assurances, terms, and conditions for receiving federal subawards and program-specific assurances. You also must have and provide on your application a UEI, unique identifier, by going to sam.gov to register and get the UEI. Um, the department is responsible for monitoring any 21st century subgrants to ensure that requirements are consistently being met and program remains compliant with any and all regulations. Okay. Um, Prior to awarding, you do have to get a fidelity bond and general liability coverage. Primary applicants that are not school districts, in other words, local education agencies, must furnish to the department a fidelity bond listed in favor of the department before grant funds will be released. Fidelity bonds must be issued in the amount equal to the amount of the annual grant award. Also, a primary applicant that is not a school district must also secure a general liability policy in the amount of no less than $750,000 per occurrence. And the SCDE must be listed as an additional insured and as a certificate holder. This cost can be included in your budget. Okay, let's shift to the focus areas for the grant. We have three listed here for the summer grant. The first one is academic achievement. You want to address academic achievement by instruction in ELA, reading, and math, and that is required. You must maintain a student-teacher ratio of 10-1 during academic instruction, and the academic content must be aligned with the South Carolina state standards. And use of certified instructors in core subjects is not required, but is highly recommended. The next focus area is enrichment. These activities are to complement and enhance any type of academic performance, achievement, and positive development of the students. And finally, family literacy. These programs can be used to promote parenting skills, parent involvement, and literacy, not just literacy in the sense of ELA or writing, but it can be financial literacy, anything that basically a family engagement program should be beneficial to the participating students' parents. Anything that um, can help them um, be better parents or help them where they can understand their students' schoolwork. Anything that nature that'll help the parents um, help their students become better at school. All right, for hours of operation, programs at a minimum must operate 4 hours a day for 4 days a week for a minimum of 4 weeks during June 1st through July 31st. The program must maintain at least an average daily attendance of 85% of their improved enrollment to continue receiving funding. Award amounts are based on particular number of hours of operation, specific days of the week, specific number of students that are proposed to be served. If any critical factors are changed, the award amount may be reduced. All right, you have to have a memorandum of agreement for any agreement that involves school district, a superintendent or a designee, and principal of the participating school must sign the MOA regarding the 21st century. That includes all the roles and responsibilities of the partnership. Program costs. The 21st century program funds offer free programming for students, so programs may not charge family members or students for any portion or part of the program. Okay, next we're going to shift to authorized activities and costs. Funds must be used to support the activities that you outline in your application in order to raise student achievement, enrichment, and increase literacy of participants, adult family members. The funds can be used for salaries, educational field trips, technology purchases, curriculum, of course, transportation, and obviously supplies and materials to benefit and use with the students. Okay, next we'll talk about unauthorized activities. The funds must not be used to cover costs associated with food unless you have an approved cooking class written into your application or professional development activities. um, Cannot be used for in support of religious activities, cover any type of fundraising costs, or any other prohibited activities listed in the RFP. And some additional unallowable costs, food purchase for approved, including snacks, non-educational field trips, cannot use for gift cards or any monetary incentives, any equipment or supplies that cost $5,000 or more per unit, cannot use it for marketing, cannot use it for purchasing vehicles or any type of construction or renovation for buildings. And the subgrantees are not permitted to divest more than 20% of the total subgrant to any one vendor. And the 21st Century Grant is a supplement, not supplant clause. All 21st Century subgrant funds must supplement, not supplant any existing services, and may not be used to supplant other federal, state, or local non-federal funds. Projects may not use subgrants to pay for existing levels of service funded from other sources or for any services mandated by federal, state, federal, or local law. So these funds are to be used on top of to fill in gaps of service that are not being provided for these students. Okay, the peer review process. Um, each application will have 3 reviewers. The maximum score is up to 100. The applications with an average score of 80 or higher will be eligible for funding. Prior to any awards being made, the Office of Auditing Services at the department will conduct a pre-award risk assessment of non-LEAs. And based on the results of that, any special conditions may be applied prior to any awards being made. For LEAs, results of the 2025 risk assessment are required under 200.332 will be pre-award risk assessment. The department reserves the right to interview applicants recommended for funding, request additional documentation, and visit proposed sites that are not school facilities. All right, at this time, I know it's been a lot of information shared. At this time, if you have any questions, feel free to type them in the chat box. Okay. And just one question so far, will these slides be available? Yes, they'll be available after the presentation. They'll be emailed out to participants. Okay, and I believe I will turn over to Cardacia.
Mhm. Okay, thank you, Jamal. Let's see. We put it back. Okay, there it is. Okay, thank you, Jamal. Now that you have the general information, we're going to move on to the application. Applications must be submitted using the online application form. The online submission is organized into 2 sections: online forms and proposal attachments. The sections that I will be discussing are a part of the proposal attachments. It is essentially,
Cardasia, I'm sorry to interrupt you. Can you do the take control option at the top so we can follow with the slides as you're advancing?
gotcha, thank you. Okay.
Thank you.
Is it, can you all see the slide that I'm on? Is it 25 showing up?
Yep, you're good now. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Okay. So the section that I will be discussing are part of the proposal attachments. It is essential that you read all guidelines and criteria carefully before preparing your application. There are specific format guidelines for the application narrative. This slide gives a breakdown of the format requirements. This can be found on pages 19 through 20 of the RFP. As previously stated, please ensure that you all make yourself familiar with the RFP because it has everything that you need to submit your application. It is essential that you adhere to the narrative length, format, the font size, margins, and all organizational requirements, including the final file format requirement, which is a PDF document for the proposal abstract, application narrative, appendices, and pre-award audit questionnaire, and an Excel document for the budget narrative. Okay, here we have the selection criteria. This slide gives an overview of the application sections and the maximum points available for each section, totaling 100 possible points. For your reference, this section begins on page 20 of the RFP. When preparing the application, please keep in mind that each section must be clearly identified. Sections may not be combined, and incomplete proposals will not be considered. Okay, we're moving on to the proposal abstract. It's imperative that you follow the instructions to compile and complete all proposal attachments prior to submitting your application to ensure that you have met all requirements and did not forget anything. Okay, the first attachment is the proposal abstract. This is a one-page document where you concisely describe the proposed project, the number of students to be served, the LEAs in which you will host the project, the unique name of the project, if any, the primary applicant's name, the amount of funds requested, and a list of collaborating partners. Please be very concise in your proposal abstract in including all required information. When the information is obvious, it makes it easier for the reader. When complete, save the proposal abstract as a single PDF document to be uploaded as an attachment in the online application. Okay, we're gonna move on to the needs statement. Once you complete the proposal abstract, you must follow specific instructions for the contents that must be included in the narrative. And your narrative begins with a needs statement. The needs statement is a key element of a proposal that makes a clear, concise, and well-supported statement of the need or problem to be addressed. And there is a maximum of 20 points available for the needs statement. And please keep in mind that a needs assessment should be conducted to determine the needs of the population that the proposed project will address regarding academic achievement, specifically in the core subjects, particularly reading and math, school attendance, behavior during the school day, and family literacy. Also, the needs statement should explain the needs assessment process and its findings, specifically including involvement of the collaborative partners in the needs assessment process, the needs of the community, and the needs of the school. Okay, needs statement continue. The needs statement should explain the needs assessment process and its findings, specifically including the needs of the students to be served, including any specific student data pertaining to the needs to be addressed, and of course, the needs of students and families to be served, and needs related to a summer program. Continuing on with the needs statement, if a summer program other than a 21st Century program is currently operating at the proposed site, your needs statement must include specifics regarding this current program, which should include the number of students to be served, the number of paid staff, sources of funding, how many days, hours per week the program is operating, and explain how the proposed 21st Century program will operate in conjunction with the existing program. If there's another program in operation, it is important to consider the impact on days and hours of operation, number of students served, services and activities provided, etc. You want to ensure that the proposed program will work in tandem with the current program and not be in competition with whatever is in place. Okay, moving on to the project design. There is a maximum of 40 points available for this section. The project design should focus on your goals and objectives for the proposed program and should propose services that are closely aligned with the needs of the students and families as identified in the needs assessment. Included in the project design is the description of activities. The description of activities should include activities centered around academic achievement, student enrichment programs, and family literacy. Okay, next there is student and family support, where you provide a clear, concise description of the project services, including meals and activities that will be provided to support students during the summer. And evaluation strategies is where you describe how evaluation data on participation and fidelity of implementation will be collected. When the data will be collected, and who will collect the data. You must identify that particular position, that particular person in that position, and who will be responsible for each data collection. You can find more detailed information regarding project design on pages 21 and 22 of the RFP. Okay, management. The management section outlines the applicant's plan to manage the project, including a chain of command, and who will manage all aspects of the project. In this section, you provide a job description for the project director and the responsibilities for each key staff member. There is a maximum of 15 points available for this section. In addressing management, the applicant must explain how the proposed 21st century project will be implemented efficiently and effectively, explain how challenges and obstacles will be resolved. Also, the applicant must express the process used to notify the community of the applicant's intention to apply for a summer 21st century subgrant and the plan to make the application and any waiver requests available for public review after it's submitted. Additional information on management can be found on pages 22 through 23 of the RFP. Now we move on to adequacy of resources. There is a maximum of 20 points available for this section. Applicants are required to detail their adequacy of resources to ensure that they are able to launch a 21st century program and sustain high quality services for students and families. Adequacy of resources should be described in the order as indicated, with the descriptions of resources for summer programs indicated for staffing, the site to be used, partner contributions, as indicated on the slide. Applicants must also include a detailed transportation plan that explains how students, public and private, will travel safely to and from the 21st century program and home. More detailed information on adequacy of resources can be found on pages 23 through 24 of the RFP. Now I will pass the torch on to Amy.
Good morning. So I'm going to review the last couple components of the application. Let me just turn up my volume just a tad. And just make sure that you have the complete application when you go to submit. So although this section is only worth 5 points, it's very important. This is your timeline of activities as well as your weekly schedule. And there's templates provided for both of these. And I will try to share those in the chat to see if I can get those to share. I know sometimes the app's a little funny with the with some people not being able to open those, but you can also find those on our website in the RFP. But it's very important that you do go ahead and get both of these submitted with your application. And we strongly suggest that you use the templates that are provided. So I put the timeline in the chat, and now I'm going to go ahead and try to add the weekly as well. And so that'll help you with those. Let's see, bear with me as I add the weekly as well. I just figured it'd be really helpful if that works where you can open those. And like I said, I'm not 100% sure everyone's going to be able to open those, but if not, they're on our website, so you can also refer there. So that's just going to detail what you're planning to do and then what your weekly schedule looks like, and make sure it's accurate and it matches, especially like your times. Like, for example, if your summer program is going to be from 8 to 12, make sure your weekly schedule matches that time frame. So make sure every your time is accurate and based on your narrative. Same thing with the budget summary. This does not have any point value, but it's very important, especially with the quick turnaround. We don't really have a whole lot of time to work with you to correct any budget errors. So it's going to be very important that all your formulas are calculated line by line and that they're correct. And just note that anything that you put in the budget needs to be in your narrative. For example, if you have field trips in your budget, it's going to need to talk about those field trips in your narrative. And let's see. And just be super clear. Make sure that everything is approvable. You can also, you have the template that you're going to use for this as well. So I'm going to go ahead and add that one in the chat as well. And you do not have to include an in-kind if you do not have one, but if you do, it does make your applicant, it makes the reader of your application see that you have the support of that. But generally, since there's no points associated with your budget, it will not affect your overall score. But if you definitely have some support, we do include that. So I am including that template here as well. Mm-hmm. All right, moving right along. And make sure that you're definitely, if you say you're going to serve 50 students, make sure your budget reflects that 50 students. And be mindful that your salaries and benefits together cannot go over 65% of your budget. So you would take your total budget of, say you're asking for the full amount, and you cannot put more than 65% of that for salaries and benefits. And of course, make sure all your costs are reasonable, necessary, allowable. And this is a reimbursable grant, so you will be reimbursed after the funds have been spent. That we ask that applicants have at least 1 month for sustainability funds, and also be very mindful that no money spent before June 1st will be reimbursable, and no money spent after July 31st will be reimbursable. This is a good example of how we would like to see your budget. You need to break down your salaries by person, or and then by the salaries. So this is a good way to see how that's done. And these are the attachments that you're going to have within your application. Grants will go over how to attach everything, but just make sure this is a good checklist, and this is what you'll need to have. You're going to need your signature page. That's very important to have your superintendent's signature on there, your GAPA statement, your tax ID, your private school, your MOA, your resume, as well as your indirect cost agreement if you're applicable for indirect cost. Common mistakes that we've seen is, as Joyce stressed at the very beginning of the presentation, after the deadline of May 16th, the system just shuts down and we're unable to accept any applications. So make sure that you allow yourself plenty of time. We do not recommend submitting the day of in case there's any problems. And then just make sure you follow all the guidelines, that your application is complete, that your budget is calculated correctly, that your information matches. If it's in the budget, it's in the narrative. If it's in the narrative, it's in the budget. We like to see the budget narrative detailed. Just very missing required signatures is another one that we see a lot that we're just not able to do a whole lot with. So just make sure you go through and make sure all the signatures are in place before submitting. All right, and this is just a reminder of the deadline, and that no hard copies will be accepted, that everything has to be done on the online submission. And this is just a little checklist. Your application will not be returned. You can keep a copy of your entire application for your records. Okay, is there any quick questions before we keep moving on? Feel free to put them in the chat and I'll just keep going where we can get to the submission. This is just a reminder that if you do have to, if you do need to resubmit due to an error or that you forgot to attach something, we will only the last completed submission will be reviewed. And I do see one question in the chat box in regard to the superintendent's signature before submitting applications. Absolutely, you do have to have that, and that is your responsibility to contact them and share the project with them and make sure you have that support. And then the contact person will receive an email confirmation and a copy of the application that was submitted. All right, and this is a general email that can contact our team if you were to have any questions. Okay, I think at this time we can turn it over to grants for the submission process.
Good morning, everyone. I am going to take control here. Are you all seeing the application submission process? There's still questions coming into the chat. I'll wait a moment if you want to answer. Okay. Can I get a thumbs up if you all can hear me before I start? Is that thumbs up for me? Okay, great. Thank you. Good morning again. My name is LaShondra DeBose, and I work in the Office of Grant Services. And today I have the pleasure of going over the online application submission process with you all for this sub-grant competition. The main objectives today is to show you how to organize your application prior to going into the online application. And then I will take you through, after we talk about what you will need in order to apply for the sub-grant, I will take you through the entire online application process so that you will be able to submit a successful application. There is a question in the chat. What's the question? I hope this makes sense. I hope this question makes sense. If a proposal has been submitted for an upcoming year, 25-26, can a portion for the summer be adjusted for this summer program? That is a question that is in the chat. To find the South Carolina Department of Education Grant Opportunities webpage, you are going to go to your URL and type in ed.sc.gov. And we're asking that you refrain from using any Google searches as they may bring up old competitions. So we're asking that you just type it in and navigate through our website to reach the competition. Our website has a slightly different look now, but once you type this web address in, once you type the web address in, you will scroll down this page. And once you scroll down this page, you see that vision section. Right below that section, there is a link that has SCDE grant opportunities. That is a hyperlink that you click on. Once you click on that hyperlink, it takes you to our grant opportunities webpage. This is the webpage that has all of the open competitions from the South Carolina Department of Education. And what you're looking for is the Summer 2025 Nita M. Lowry 21st Century Community Learning Centers sub-grant. And it is on the left side of the screen. I have a visual here for you. Also noted on the right hand, on the lower right-hand side, you can see if the tutorials and some contact information on there. That is also a section where we have all of our archived sub-grants or grants in the competition. You can find there. You can also find some tutorials and tips that'll be helpful for you. Back to the competition. Once you click on that link, make sure that you click on the correct link. Make sure that you see the year 2025 and also that it is a summer competition. When you click on that link, it takes you to the web page that is specific for this funding opportunity. This page contains all of the information to the current sub-grant competition. And if you scroll down the page, you will see a document section, and this is the section where the grant-related documents are located. You'll also see a hyperlink to the online application, as well as a budget narratives template, your timeline of activities template, and your project weekly schedule template. Underneath, the last thing you'll see is the program webpage, and we have additional information for you that will take you to a website if you need additional information. The Office of Student Support has provided an overview document for you to use. This is in the RFP. This will help you organize your application submission, and you can use it as a checklist for the items that are needed to have a completed application. This is on page 19 of the RFP. The online application has two different parts. There is your online forms, which is the application organization, and you can find screenshots in pages 30 through 36 of this actual online application. And then the second part is the attachment section, and the attachment section has for the appendices everything that you will need for these attachments, starting with the proposal, the project abstract, the application narrative, the budget, the appendices. Starting on page 19 through 29, that has information in there regarding each one of those documents that you will need to upload. Make sure that you refer to the RFP as much as possible. And this is basically what I was just saying prior to starting the online application submission. You will need to prepare and save all of the proposal attachments. This will help you save time as you're structuring going into the online application. That way, when you get in there, you can go straight through. You'll have all of your documents that you need. I went over what those attachments are. Again, they're outlined in the RFP for you. If applicable, there's a pre-award audit questionnaire. That link is on page 29 of the RFP. Again, to make sure that you obtain all signatures early. I would hate for you to do all of this work and you don't have the required signatures, especially with the certification signature page, which is the legal binding document for you. Without that, your application will not be considered. Also, before you start the online submission, use the screenshots that are presented on pages 30 through 36 of the RFP as a guideline for compiling all of your information that you're going to need for your online form sections. And this will also make it easier for you to flow smoothly. There should be a screenshot of every section of the online application in your RFP. Now let's take a closer look into the actual online application form. This is the first screen that you will see when you enter the online application. This is the applicant information. In this applicant information, you're going to be asked to complete information for the contact information for your authorized official, your contact person, your project director, your financial officer. And then you will have a section on collaborating partners, program information that has project activities, your program site information, funding information, and budget summary will be the last part prior to prior to reviewing your data and to make sure that what you enter is what you actually meant to enter there. So taking you through the breakdown of the online application, this is the first screen that you will see. It will ask you to enter your official name of the applicant organization. The name as entered must match the applicant's registered name that is in SAM. Then you will enter the applicant organization's physical address with the full zip code plus those 4 digits after the zip code. And then you will enter a descriptive title of the project that you are proposing. The contact information, for the contact information, you enter the name, title, and contact information for the authorized official who has the authority to enter into a legal binding contractual agreement on behalf of the applicant entity. And depending on the type of entity of the primary applicant, it could be a for-profit, a nonprofit, could be a nonprofit or for-profit. The authorized official should be the CEO or that executive director, and could even be a chairperson of the board of directors. Program office, please come in, correct me if I'm wrong on that part. For schools and school districts, the authorized official is the district superintendent. And again, the name must match the name of the authorized official that is listed on your certification signature page. This screen is the contact person. This is the primary person that you should reach out to regarding any matters concerning the application. And this is the email address to which the submission confirmation will be sent to. Remember, any information that is going to come out of this application, this person is going to receive it. And that's why they're asking for the email address twice. When you enter that email address, make sure that you type it in manually to avoid any errors. So do not copy and paste it from the first time that you write it. Just manually type it in both times to prevent any type of errors there. Your project director, the screen is for your project director. You're going to do the same thing, enter the contact information for your project director, enter a title there, the phone number, the email address, and then the financial officer as well. You're going to enter all of the contact information. There is an option there that if you have if the addresses are the same, there's a box that you can click same as from the previous information that you entered, and it'll pre-populate that for you. Collaborating partners, you will be able to enter the information on between 1 and 3 primary collaborating partners. And the collaborating partners are those that are directly involved in the project on a regular ongoing basis. And initially, you will see only the number of options for the partner applications in the online form. So you see there 1, 2, 3. Once you select the number, that's when the information fields will show for each corresponding organization. You select the number of school districts being served by the project, and again, up to 3. The corresponding number of the district name fields that will then be displayed based on the number that you selected. If you selected 1, you'll see this information 1 time. If you selected 3, you'll see this information 3 times. Enter the full name for each school district and do not use any abbreviations nor any acronyms. On this screen, you're going to provide the details of the project for the number of students to be served and the beginning and end dates. And this is a drop down, so you can click on the calendar and select those dates in operation between June 1st, 2025 and July 31st, 2025. Then you're going to identify the type of program that is being proposed and then indicate the days of the week the programs will operate, the total hours per week, the total hours per day, the daily hours of operation, and the number of weeks that the program will operate during the summer. For project activities, you're going to indicate the activities that will be offered throughout the project by, you do this by checking all of the boxes that apply. If activities to be offered are not included in the list, there is another option, and you can enter a description of those additional activities. Project site information, this is, the example says project site 1 information. Obviously, you have to at least select one. Select the number of proposed sites for the project up to 4. The information fields will display for each site based on the number that you selected. I'll be asked to enter the name of the site, the address, and the contact information. Will also indicate the number of students to be served by each site and the schools where they attend. Enter the hours and days of operations if they differ from the schedule that is provided in the program information section of the application. And if this site is not a school, indicate how far away from the school by miles. You have a yes, no option here. Indicate whether or not an after-school program currently operates at each site. And if so, provide the requested information. If you click yes, provide the requested information on the funding source or sources for the existing after-school program, the number of students that are being served, and the schedule of operations. If you click no for the after-school program, then the information fields will not be displayed. There is a question in the chat. So if we apply for summer programs on behalf of 2 schools, we only submit 1 application, ? Question from Richland 2. We'll allow the program office to answer that in the chat. Funding information. In the funding information section, you will enter the total amount of funding that you are requesting for the summer project. And again, those dates are displayed on the screen, June 1st, 2025 through July 31st, 2025. Enter this amount in whole dollars only. Do not enter any cents after the dollar amount. And then you have your budget summary. The cost fields for each column and the total budget fields for each line item will automatically calculate. The total project cost amount in the grant funds requested column must match the total amount requested for the year 1 under funding information section. Obviously, this is for your summer. Again, these screenshots are in your RFP. And indirect costs. You're going to enter the primary applicant organization's indirect cost rate percentage that was approved, and then provide the beginning and ending dates of the effective period of the indirect cost rate agreement. The last section of the online application is the proposal attachments. And this is where you will upload the proposal abstract, your application narrative, your budget narrative, and all of those items that are listed in the appendices that are outlined for you in RFP. As I stated earlier, you will want to prepare and save these items in advance of going into the online application to save time for you to submit your application straight through. Then refer to the RFP for directions on saving these documents. I've included some examples for you earlier in the section where you can go directly to this section and see how they're asking you to attach these documents. It's very important that you attach it the way that it's being asked. Organization is key, and if you have an incomplete application, as the program office has stated, your application will not be reviewed. So the appendices, they include your signed certification signature page. Should put that in all caps. Which is your legal binding document. And it basically says that you are agreeing to the terms, you're agreeing to the assurances and the terms and conditions of the subgrant. And then also you have your GEPA statement, private school consultation form, request for your tax identification number and certification, your memorandums of agreement, resume of project director, if it applies, your indirect cost rate. And I've included the page numbers where you can find this information. This is, I've also, because you have an option where you can drag and drop your files as well as upload your files by browsing and going through the longer route. But you can drag and drop from a file, or you can click on browse files and go to where you have your document saved. Let me go back. You can go to where you have your document saved and make sure that the system shouldn't allow you to upload it if it's not in the format that that is being requested in that PDF or Excel document. And I don't think, but I don't know if this for sure, if you will run into this problem with the file size limit, but if you happen to run into a problem, I've included some tips on the screen here for you to reduce your file size limit. And just some mentions, save your PDF documents in black and white. You won't receive any extra credit for color. Do not include any unnecessary extra documents. Only provide what's asked. Do not include any graphics or pictures, and reduce the size of your PDF files. You have to have Acrobat Pro X, and you do have to have that software in order to follow these instructions that I have here. You're going to save as other and then reduce the file size. Select your desired Acrobat compatibility. We suggest Acrobat 8.0 or later. And that's if you're having issues uploading with the file size. The last part of the online application is going to ask you to verify the information that you entered. So take time and look at this page. This is your data review and confirmation page. Go through it from top to bottom. If you see where you may have left something off or you typed something in the wrong area, you can go back by clicking on the previous button at the bottom left. You will have to click the previous button until you get to that actual section. You can correct it, and then you will click next on the bottom right to get back to where you were. The application won't allow you to submit if you haven't completed the fields that are required. It has the red asterisk beside it. If you try to submit and you haven't completed all fields, there will be a note at the top. It usually navigates you back to that page that you left something off. So once you have verified that all of the data that you've entered is correct, then click submit, and this on-screen confirmation comes up thanking you for completing the application. And then you should also receive an email confirmation. The contact person will receive the email. Keep this screen up just in case you don't receive it. Make sure you receive that email before you close out. And I saved the save in progress for last. Because I'm hoping that you don't have to stop and save. But in the event that you do, things do happen. And if you give yourself enough time to submit the application and you need to stop, you can save your progress. As a note, your attachments will not be saved. So if you think that you're going to have to stop and save, just don't waste your time on uploading your attachments because you'll have to do that all over again. But there is a save and resume later link on each page, in the middle of each page. Once you click on save and resume later, an on-screen message pops up to ask you if you're sure that you want to save and resume later. In this case, you says yes. You click on that link. That gives you an option to either copy and paste the blue hyperlink there, or you can enter your email address. If I was saving it, I would do both. If you only select to copy that link, make sure that when you save it in a location that you can retrieve it, because we don't have access to that link. I, in the Office of Grant Services, nor the program office, they won't be able to pull that link for you. So it's safer to just do both. Save the link and also email it to yourself. Once you've chosen your options, that gives you another option. It gives you an on-screen confirmation. I'm sorry to let you know that, great, we have sent your link to the email address that you have supplied to us. And if you haven't received that email, it gives you an option to resend the email. So if you're going to save, hold this screen until you verify that you received the email. And then the second screenshot is what the email looks like when it comes to you, and it has the link in the email. Add some reminders. These are the same reminders that program office provided for you. You cannot return to an application once it is submitted, but you can resubmit an application if you're within the deadline, and the last application that you submitted will be the application that will be reviewed. The contact person will receive the email confirmation and the copy of the data that was submitted, and also retain your submission confirmation email along with all data with other important grant documents. And I am at the end of this session, and it looks like we have an old slide there, but if you have any questions for me, I'd be happy to entertain any questions about the online form, or if you thought of anything along the way that you may have forgotten to ask the program office, they're still on. They can answer any questions that you may have as well. And then the contact slide, I learned that the office is huge over there, so you can really just ignore those two names there, and if you have any questions, you need to email or reach out. There's the they have a joint email address there that you can send and ask questions to. If you think of something that you didn't think of while on this session. And also for myself, my director, Audrey Shiflett, will be happy to answer any questions about the online form that you have. You can email us and we'll respond back to you. I'm going to, if you don't have any questions for me, I'm going to turn it back over to the program office.
Thank
And
you,
good
Ms.
luck,
Chandra.
everyone.
Thank you,
Yep.
thank you. I think we've answered your questions in the chat. If we didn't, please just take yourself off mute and ask your question. But I think we tried to do a good job with answering your questions. And I think we've mentioned throughout, but I'll say it again. Today was an overview, so please read the entire RFP. It's your responsibility to make sure that you are providing everything that's requested in the RFP. So today was an overview. And as Amy stated earlier, the slides will be made available as well as the recording. Do we have any other questions? And thank everyone for participating. We hope that you found this information helpful. Good luck, best wishes with you and your application. I hope that you all can get funded. Thank you, team, for stepping in and helping out. Our director for guiding us, grants office. Thank you all so much. If we don't have any other questions, we are going to end. We'll hang on a few minutes just to make sure that there aren't any other questions. If so, then you may exit. Thank you all so much.